which is ordinary. It's about chasing after things or running away from things. Right? I run after the things which I think will bring me happiness, and run away from the things that I think will cause me problems or suffering. Right? But that's not a spiritual worldview or a correct Buddhist worldview. Right? A correct Buddhist worldview is that, and we're going to get into it later in the class, is the correct Buddhist worldview is that pursuing karmic causes, will bring us happiness. So if one is feeling happy, one is feeling down, one's having a physical pain or discomfort, or a great time, what's the underlying thought or feeling, right? Because there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a great time. We should be having a great time. But what's the subtext? What's the undercurrent of one's thought or being? Right? Like, does it just stop there? Is it simply, I'm having a great time, and I'm having a great time, and I'm having a great time, and isn't it great I'm having a great time? Or is it, I'm having a great time, and it's wonderful that, that I've led a virtuous life that's brought this result, and I'm going to continue to engage in goodness and virtue, to perpetuate this. So the experience is fundamentally the same. The thought process and the motivation is very different. Right? Whether it's enjoying something or not liking something. One could think, wow, I feel really lousy and this is horrible, and I wish I didn't feel this way, and God, what can I go do so that I don't feel this way? Take some meds, or get a coffee, or do some exercise, or just go back to bed, or whatever. Right? And that's fine, that's ordinary, but it's also quite limited, as opposed to thinking at a deeper level, in a more subtle level, more karmic level, which says, this negativity is ripening, negative experiences are ripening, and the purpose of my life and the focus of my life and the orientation of my life is to engage in virtue and to manifest virtue and to think virtuous thoughts. And so, even if I'm having these problems, let me at least try to think or say or do something which is of some benefit to someone, right? So, stuff happens. It's out of our control. It's karmic seeds which were set in motion long ago, right? Karmic causes which we collected long ago. And so as we go through our life, as good and bad things happen to us, their ripenings are largely out of our control, but the thoughts we think and the attitude and intention that we have as we progress through those things are the important aspect of it. And so it's taking the mundane, which is ordinary life, and making it holy, right? Regardless of what's happening, regardless of how good or how bad or how neutral or indifferent our experiences are, how can we engage in those things in some way which transform the ordinary to the holy, I guess you would say, right? To a higher spiritual thing. Right? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, so 10 qualities of a spiritual teacher or a qualified Lama. So if you're gonna find a spiritual teacher, you should try to make sure you got a good one, right? Much like any undertaking, to become a virtuoso, you need a teacher. You can't become a master pianist without a teacher. You can't become a master dancer without a teacher. And you can't become a master spiritual practitioner without a teacher. It just doesn't work, right? So it's extremely important to find a teacher, a qualified teacher that you resonate well with, right? And how do you recognize an authentic Lama or teacher, right? You have to be very careful with your spiritual real estate. I mean, if you go to somebody for, I don't know, if you go to somebody for a bad haircut, not much harm done, it grows back, right? I mean, if you go to a bad doctor and they make a mistake, it can mess you up for this life, right? If you go to a bad spiritual teacher, they can affect your mind and your spiritual real estate for thousands of years and many, many lifetimes. So, your spiritual real estate is very precious, and it's extremely important to check and be careful about who you are allowing to shape your mind and your thoughts and your character and your subtle being. So it's extremely important. So you have to check them out, make sure they pass certain tests in your mind. Yes. Hi.
What constitutes a virtuous life, and how can you detect virtuosity in yourself or in others? What is virtuous life?
Yeah, what is virtue? We're going to talk about it a little later, but basically, it ties into what is karma. What are causes? What is a positive cause or a negative cause? What is a beneficial thing? What is a harmful thing? And I guess simply said, it would be something which benefits us in the short term and the long term. Now you could say sometimes they're not in agreement. Sometimes we do something and it's not good for us in the short term, but it's good for us in the long term, and vice versa. And so it largely is tied to motivation and intention. We can have the intention to help someone and end up hurting them, right? Is it virtuous or not? I mean, yesterday morning, I was dropping my wife off at the PATH station, and my son, 8-year-old son, was leaning out the window saying, "Oh, mommy, I love you, bye." And he had and her door was open, and he had his hand on the post, on the car post. And she's like, "Oh, honey, I love you, kiss, kiss, kiss." Slam. Like fingers in the door, fully closed.
Oh no.
So, and so she let her both going, "I love you, I love you, I love you," and then right? So is that virtue or is that not virtue, right? It's very mixed. Things are not always black and white, also.
So I was thinking of virtues the basis of some religions, not to steal, not to do this, not to do that, blah, 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 all the precepts and stuff like that. Is it based on that, on precepts?
Yeah, in the Buddhist system, there are many sets of precepts and vows, many categories and layers, and very much like a Christian religion, there are 10 non-virtues to, no killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, things like that. So there's many long lists of things to avoid and things to pursue as virtuous undertakings like that. Yeah.
So basically, it covers it covers all that, all the things that we know by tradition or whatever.
In Buddhist system. In Buddhist system, there are many ways of itemizing and defining good things to do. There are things called perfections, activities you should pursue, like giving and joyous effort and sharing wisdom and many. So there are many lists like that. Yeah. Okay. So with a spiritual teacher, 10 qualities, and you have to find a teacher and develop a close relationship with a teacher if you're really going to become a virtuoso in anything, right? You can't get there otherwise, right? So you want to check out the teacher before you really hand yourself over, as it were, right? Because one of their jobs is to reshape you. One of the jobs of a spiritual teacher is to turn you into a different kind of being, right? I mean, the nature of the relationship is you're saying, you know more than me, you're more spiritually advanced than me, you're more profound than I am, so fix me. Help me fix things up here. Help improve me or turn me into someone better than I am right now. So, it's essentially a relationship where soliciting them, to turn you into something else or help you become something else. And you want to ensure that you don't get turned into the wrong thing. Right? Like a bad movie. Right? Okay. So the first quality is called Dulwa, which means control. They're controlled. And this means they're very good at practicing an ethical way of life. They have a high morality, a pure morality. It's not 10 on virtues, right? Refrain from hurting others, refrain from sexual misconduct, stealing, lying. Are they keeping their vows? Are they keeping their bodhisattva vows? Are they keeping their higher vows? Right? So like that, right? Okay. The second quality is in Tibetan Shiwa, which means peace. They're at peace, and this is a code word which means they should be able to meditate well. They should be able to have a deep meditative concentration. They should be an advanced meditator. They should be able to go into deep meditation, right? So, okay. Ner Shiwa is the third quality in Tibetan, which means high peace. This is a code word for the fact that they should have an extraordinary understanding of wisdom, okay, of emptiness and karma. Okay. Ideally they would have perceived it. They would have had a direct experience of that. All right. And then the fourth is that they should have higher spiritual qualities than the student. They should be better than you, right? How is someone going to teach you and bring you up if they're not better than you already, right? I mean, you can't go to someone who knows less than you to educate you. It just doesn't work, right? So you have to find a teacher who's at a higher level than you are, right? Someone who has more spiritual savvy, very, very highly qualified compared to you. Don't put your hands in the person of don't put yourself in the hands of someone who's just starting out and who isn't experienced, right? So they're just, you don't want to be the person that they make the mistake on or cut their teeth on, right? Right. And then fifth is effort, sunche. Means they should be willing to make effort happily. They should take joy. They should make joyous efforts. They should happily make efforts in what they're doing and doing goodness. Right? They should be happy to teach, excited to teach you, excited to help you, and they should be willing to do it for free. Right? We come from a lineage where teachers never charge anything. At Saramane Monastery, if a teacher has a student, they take responsibility for supporting the student. The teacher has to feed the student, the teacher has to house the student, the teacher has to look after all of the material and spiritual needs of the student. And this is the lineage we come from. No one has ever charged for anything at Sara. And nor has Holy Ken Rinpoche nor Holy Geshe Michael ever charged for any Dharma teaching, nor have I. So that's our tradition, and Dharma should be free, and the teacher should teach because they want to do it and they're happy to do it, and that's the beauty of our lineage. Right? Number 6 is they should be rich in scriptural knowledge. It's the 6th quality of a teacher. Should have a big toolkit. They should know a lot. They should know a lot about the scriptures. They should be very familiar and well versed in the scriptures. They should have studied, intensely and for a long time. Sixth is that they should have perceived emptiness. This is the most important quality of a teacher. If a teacher has had a direct experience of ultimate reality, then they are a different kind of being. There are two classes of beings, right? There are children, and all beings are divided into two: those who have perceived emptiness and those who haven't. And those who haven't perceived emptiness are considered to be like children because of their level of understanding and the way in which they live is so limited. So once a person has perceived ultimate reality, they are a different type of being. They're a completely other class of being, and in terms of the level of understanding, behavior, and profundity, and all the rest. So, if you can find somebody who has perceived ultimate reality, then that's vastly preferable to have someone like that as a teacher. Right? So, it's like, ultimately you want to study and perceive ultimate reality. And like anything, it's like trying to take swimming lessons from someone who doesn't swim. It's like, well, I've read a lot about swimming and I've studied swimming a lot. Let me teach you about how to swim. It's nowhere near the same thing as learning from somebody who's an excellent swimmer, right? Okay. But it's extremely rare to find someone like that, extremely difficult to find someone like that. So the text says, if you can't find someone who's perceived emptiness directly, then go with somebody who has good scriptural knowledge and good intellectual understanding of emptiness, right? Okay. So, and how do you know if someone really understands emptiness? By and large, if they're talking about causation, when they're talking about emptiness, then they have a sound understanding. Karma and emptiness are really like two sides of the same coin. And so someone who's teaching or talking about emptiness without talking about karma is really something's amiss, and vice versa. So it's a good benchmark to see if a person has a thorough understanding of emptiness, right? Okay, let's see. The eighth quality is that they're a good teacher, in a normal sense. Do they communicate well? Do they teach at the appropriate level? Are they able to see, not teach above the student or below the student? Right? Just a sort of, speak in a way that the people who are listening can get it. In that sense, right? Can they express profound, deep ideas in ways that they can be understood? You hear teachers and they're talking about stuff, and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? They're using big words or whatever it is. It's just like, I used to go to, in the early days, I used to go to Buddhist teachings, and it was almost like they're trying to use the biggest words they could find to show that they really understood what they were talking about. I didn't have a clue what they were talking about. It wasn't very helpful to me. Okay. It should be a language that's understandable and which you can practice yourself. Ninth quality, there should be an image of love. And they should be teaching you Dharma because they care about you, not because you're, being reverential or you're making lots of offerings and, obsequious and all the rest. It's like, they should be teaching out of some kind of love and altruism, not because of something that they're getting, right? So they're not in it for any other goal other than to get you enlightened, basically, right? They care and they want to help you. And generally they're not hitting you up for stuff all the time, like, oh, can you wash my car? Whatever it might be, right? Okay. And then the 10th quality is that they never tire. They're very patient. They don't mind repeating themselves 20 times, in the hopes that maybe someone will remember. They don't mind the same question being asked over and over again. Right? They don't mind that people don't do their homework or don't meditate or, they stick it out, right? So those are the 10 qualities of a really qualified teacher. And you have to try to find one, right? You have to find one that you can be close to and you can be around constantly, because like any relationship, it isn't really a relationship if you're not around each other. If you're going to mix it up with a person and learn from them and be exposed to them and benefit from their interaction, then they got to be there. So it's it's one thing to take a teacher who's like the Dalai Lama is my teacher and I see him once every 3 years, but it's not really helping in a moment-to-moment, day-to-day way, right? So try to find someone with those qualities, and if you can find someone with those qualities, try to stay close to them, right? And don't let them go. Everyone here has a different personality, and so everyone needs a different kind of teacher and a different character. So, in Tibetan Buddhism, there are 4 sects. There are, hundreds of subsects. You have to find one that fits your character and devote yourself to them, and really go for it and really make efforts. So, Pope Bonka Rinpoche says you might not find a person who has these 10 qualities, right? Holding out for all 10 qualities might You might spend your whole life looking for somebody that has all 10 qualities and not find them, right? And then you miss the boat. So Prabhupada Rinpoche says that the main thing is to find a person who has the first three. You know, do they keep their morality well? Do they keep all their sets of vows well? Right? Do they meditate well? And do they really understand emptiness? Right? And it's back to the three principal paths, right? Almost. So they should at least have those three qualities. And then we cover the three qualities of a good student. I mean, if you're going to talk about what makes a good teacher, then you're going to talk about what makes a good student. Right? And this is from Master Ayadeva's 400 verses. And the first of the three qualities of a good student is that they are free of preconceptions, right? Meaning they're not, rigid, you could say, or stubborn, or wedded to certain views. You know, if you're going to learn new things, then you necessarily have to be open-minded and willing to consider other ideas and not too attached to one's own ideas and one's own views. And so from a Buddhist perspective, when we're teaching a new worldview, new way of understanding and relating to reality, it's very important to be able to entertain new ideas that you haven't considered before. So it's the first quality, open to new possibilities. Second is that they are intelligent in a spiritual sense. Right? Like a good spiritual IQ, like just thinking basic thoughts like, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? You know, some kind of curiosity about deeper things, and not just content to, you know, go to work and watch TV and go to sleep and do that for one's entire life and never examine anything beyond that. Right? And I think everyone in this room is like that, or you wouldn't be here. You know, you'd be home watching TV. I'm sure there's something good on. So you have to have some kind of higher aspirations in life. So beyond just getting a house and a washing machine and a car and better clothes, you know. And then they have the third quality is they have to have high aspirations in life, concerned with death. You know, what happens after death? You know, what do I do about it? How do I stop suffering? How do I reach happiness? Some kind of interest in these higher aspirations beyond just consumption and entertainment. All right. So, from a Buddhist perspective, our goal is to escape suffering, to end all suffering, right? And that's called samsara, right? You know, what's samsara? I mean, samsara is sometimes equated with, you know, my life here, Manhattan. You know, like Manhattan is samsara, right? The subway is samsara, whatever. My job is samsara. My partner is samsara, whatever, right? Kids. You know. But that's not what samsara is. Samsara is a state of continual rebirth. You know, it's being forced to take a rebirth over and over and over again, a suffering rebirth over and over and over again. You know, the nature of our lives is that we're born, you know, we have sickness, we have aging, you know, we have ups and downs and all arounds and a life full of problems. And by and large, they're all out of our control. They're caused by seeds we planted previously. They ripen, and you know, and we suffer. And so, the root of samsara in Tibetan is korwa, means to circle or to go in a circle, to just circle around and circle around and circle around. And so, what they mean by that is that we don't understand the nature of reality, and we don't understand the nature of suffering and what causes our suffering, and that causes us to cycle in suffering rebirths. And what does that mean in a practical sense? What that means in a practical sense is, you know, you go home, you know, and your boyfriend, girlfriend, partner's there, and you know, and they yell at you, and you yell back at them, you know, and guess what? You just caused a yelling person in your future. You know, our natural reaction to being treated badly is to treat other people badly. You know, if somebody yells at us, we yell back. If somebody, you know, I mean, you can think of anything. You know, somebody I won't. You get it. I'm not gonna. And so, the cause of being yelled at is yelling at someone. I'm going to talk, from a karmic perspective. The fact that your partner yelled at you and you yelled back to them means that you're going to have somebody yell at you in the future. So every time you yell at somebody, karmically, you're creating a yelling person in your future, right? Every time you lie to somebody, you're creating a lying person in your future. So the thing that we naturally do causes us to experience the same problem again, right? So my partner treated me badly, I treated her badly. In the future, she's going to treat me badly again. This is the cycle of suffering. This is circling in the cycle of suffering that is the wheel of samsara, right? So it's a self-perpetuating circle, and that's what the cycling in samsara means. Because we don't understand karma, and because we don't understand emptiness, we do the exact thing which will produce the same problem for us again in the future, right? When someone treats us bad, we treat them badly back, The only way to cause something to happen again, according to Buddhism, is to do it again, and then we perpetuate it, we spin the wheel. So, if you want to break the cycle of samsara, the next time somebody yells at you, you don't yell back, right? That's breaking the cycle of suffering. That's breaking the wheel of samsara, right? It's in the wheel of life. It's the first link, I think. It's just every time somebody does something negative to you, you don't respond in kind. And that breaks the cycle of suffering existence, because you have just eliminated an instance of your own future suffering. And when somebody yelled at you and you didn't yell back, you just eliminated a yelling person from your future. They won't be there. Okay? All right. So another question on the homework is to list the 8 worldly thoughts. And we'll go through it pretty quickly. These are 8 thoughts that ruin your spiritual practice. And they're in pairs. So the first is being happy when you get something. And the second is being unhappy when you don't get something. Like, I don't know, I got a raise. Woo-hoo. I didn't get a raise. Okay. The third is being happy when you feel good. And the fourth is being unhappy when you don't feel good. Like I physically feel good and I feel life is good, I'm feeling up. Or, got a headache or whatever it might be. Right? And then the fifth is being happy when you become well known. You have some fame or some actor thing, when you get a show and you're out there in front of people.
Oh my God, it's David.
Sir. Is that David?
Over there.
And then conversely, being unhappy when no one knows. Didn't get the part. And then the seventh is being happy when people speak well of you, good reputation, praise. And then the eighth is being unhappy when people speak badly of you, speak ill of you, right? So these are 8 worldly thoughts which, by worrying about these things, they ruin your spiritual practice. And look, things happen all the time. Good things and bad things are happening to us all through our lives. We get, we get a raise, we don't get a raise. We have a great date, we don't have a great date. Whatever it's going to be. That's just normal life. There's no problem with that, and there's no problem enjoying those things. And it's natural when you got a headache that you're miserable, right? But the point here is not to obsess about it in a way, not to get wrapped up in it, not to get wound up in it. Don't exacerbate the highs and lows, but to acknowledge them and be real about them and focus upon maintaining your spiritual motivation and your virtuous motivation regardless of what's happening, right? It goes back a little bit to what we were saying before, is that our goal as spiritual practitioners is to always keep that motivation front and center, And it's very easy to lose our motivation, right? To not remember the point of our practice. Like the point of my life and the point of my practice is to be thinking of things as pure and holy all the time, or to be thinking about how can I be virtuous all the time, right? How can I help those around me all the time? How can I benefit those around me all the time, right? If I have a good day, I'm not thinking about that much. I'm thinking about my good day, right? I'm thinking about like, wow, I'm going to the beach today, and the waves look great, or the temperature's wonderful, or well, look at the beautiful sky, and can't wait to go for a walk in the park. Or if I'm having a lousy day, it's like, oh my God, I just got fired, I don't have a job, I can't find a job, and become obsessed about that and become mired in that. It's very easy to lose one's spiritual view, right? It's very easy to lose one's spiritual perspective and to just be wrapped up in the, like, this is awesome, I'm just like kicking butt out here in the ocean, or, I'm just like a miserable human being and I'll never have a life, and I'll never have a job, and I'll never have a vacation again, right? So either way is off balance, you would say, from a spiritual perspective, and that one is just not practicing. So that's really the point with the 8 worldly dharmas, is to not lose your center and not get wrapped up in them for better or for worse, like, I'm famous, I'm on a TV show, I'm not practicing anymore, or, for good or bad, to not lose one's motivation, right? So like that. And it's very easy. I mean, when things get really good and when things get really bad, it's very easy to lose our motivation and very easy to lose our spiritual practice, right? And so that's why when they talk about these things, it's like these things they'll ruin your spiritual practice if you get sucked into these 8 worldly thoughts. Okay. And the final thing we need to cover tonight are the laws of karma, right? And I know it's a lot of material. Try not to be overwhelmed. This is a year's worth. Well, this is 18 years worth of material in a short period of time. So try not to be overwhelmed. But we've got to talk about the laws of karma. There are 4 laws of karma. The first is lenepa. Karma is definite, right? Meaning, if you create a cause, you will get a result, right? Once you establish a cause, there must be a result from that cause. Right? Karma is definite. If you do a good thing, if you do something to help someone, then it's impossible to get a bad result from that, period. Okay? If you do something with a bad motivation, something to harm someone, then it's impossible to get a good result from that, period. Like produces like. Okay? Jesus said, what is it, lemon seeds? You don't get apples from lemon seeds. He has some seed metaphor in the Bible. I forget what the seeds were, but it was something like that. People say, well, I was totally honest at work, and I told the boss what I thought of him, and it didn't go well, and I've had nothing but problems ever since that. So being honest didn't work, so the laws of karma don't hold. And it's a misunderstanding of what the laws of karma are and how they work, right? One has to understand that karmic causes have a period where they're dormant and where they gestate and where they bring a result. And so what one does in the present moment is not the cause of the next instant's ripening. What one does in the present moment will ripen at some point later in the future. And what's ripening 30 seconds from now or 3 seconds from now is the ripening of a cause, a karma which was collected sometime in the past. And so extremely important to recognize the time lag between when a seed is planted and when it ripens. Right? Okay. So if you lie, the only result you can get is that people won't believe you in the future. And if you tell the truth, then the result is you'll live in a place where people trust you and believe you. So. So, if we believe the first law of karma, then we wouldn't lie anymore, we wouldn't steal anymore, we wouldn't cheat anymore, etc., right? The fact that, let's say, we don't really believe the first law of karma, because sometimes if we lie, we get a good result, and sometimes if we lie, we get a bad result. And we think, well, it's working some of the time, there must be something to it, right? But the fact that it's not, for something to be a cause, it has to hold all the time. If lying were the cause of getting a good result, every time we lie, we have to get a good result. And if that doesn't happen, then it doesn't hold that it's a true cause. You know, it's an illusion, it's a deception. You know, for something to be a real cause, it must produce the same result every time. And we can see that it doesn't work that way, right? The lie doesn't cause a desirable result every time. And so it's not the true cause. You know, what would happen if everybody lived according to the laws of karma? I mean, what if everybody lived according to the idea that whatever you do is going to happen to you? I mean, it'd be pretty paradisical, right? I mean, it'd be a pretty good world if everybody was saying, I'm only going to do the things that I want to have happen to me. It'd be a pretty cool place to be. Right? Okay, second law of karma is nepel chewa, which means karma expands. Consequences are greater than their actions. You know, when you have a seed, the seed grows and the result is more substantial than the seed. You know, the karmic seeds are the same as physical seeds. You know, you start with a little acorn or sunflower seed or whatever it is, and you know, you water it and it gestates and it grows and it produces a massive result. And so karmas are the same. You know, they start small and they bring much larger, more significant results than the cause. And so people say, well, little white lies are okay, you know, or stealing a little bit's okay, you know. But you know, when you understand that results are much greater than the causes, then it's not really okay. You know, a little bit of lying turns into a massive karmic result. A little bit of stealing turns into a massive karmic result. And so, better not to do it, right? So you have to understand that even small negative deeds can become very powerful. And similarly, very small positive deeds become very powerful, right? So understanding that and even restraining oneself from a small negative deed is a huge thing. You know, you've just eliminated a massive suffering from your future by restraining from a small negative deed. Saving yourself a lot of future karmic pain, right? Okay. Third principle of karma is nothing will happen without a cause. You know, things don't come from nothing. If you don't collect a cause, there won't be a result, right? So, you know, a lot of people say, well, I studied Buddhism and nothing happens, you know. But did you collect causes? I mean, studying is not enough of a cause. You know, if you want money or wealth or, you know, enlightenment or samadhi or whatever it is, you know, did you collect the causes? Did you plant the seeds? Because without planting seeds, nothing will happen. That's true of a meditation retreat, that's true of meditative realizations, that's true of perceiving emptiness, that's true of everything. It's true of meeting holy beings. You know, nothing will happen unless you collect the causes, right? So, you know, don't go around expecting big spiritual changes if you haven't done anything to cause it, right? I mean, I think, you know, we feel like, well, I'm a Buddhist. My life should get better, you know. I mean, my life's not getting better. Maybe I shouldn't be a Buddhist, you know. Being a Buddhist didn't help me, you know. But it's just about causation, right? It's just about collecting the appropriate causes. So, you know, if you don't do a karma, then nothing's going to happen. It's just like that, right? And you know, this applies to vows even, like taking bodhisattva vows or tantric vows. You know, if we take vows and we don't keep them, we don't do them, then better not to take them, right? Because you're not collecting the right karma. You know, you're not planting the right karmic seeds. It's like, you know, I promise to do something and then I don't do it, right? And or you're saying I'm going to engage in all these specific causes to produce a result, but then we don't collect the causes and we don't pursue the causes, you know? So be careful with that, right? Nothing's going to change if we don't check in and collect the right causes, you know, like checking in on our vows every few hours, right? So, okay, last one. Once you collect a karma, it will not disappear by itself. You know, once collected, karma is certain. You know, once you collect a karma, it will bring its result. So the last one is if you don't collect a karma, you won't get a result. This one is if you do collect a karma, you will get a result, right? For better or for worse, right? And, what kind of karma? Well, there's, if you say something, that's collecting a verbal karma, right? If you do something, that's collecting a physical karma. Do something with your body, that's collecting a physical karma. But, thoughts are powerful karma. Thought is raw karma. Thinking a thought is collecting a karma. So, every thought we have, we are creating causes and setting karmic forces in motion, right? So very important to be aware of just even having angry thoughts in our mind or irritated thoughts in our mind, right? I mean, it's great you didn't punch a person or yell at them or whatever it may be, but still thinking that they're an idiot is collecting a karma, So it's not like, well, I didn't hit him or I didn't yell at him, so it was okay. I did a good job. No. I mean, you have to be dealing with your mental karma, your raw karma also, right? You have to control your thoughts. All right. So, why is it that once you collect the karma, it never goes away? I mean, some people think, look, nobody saw me take the money, I got away with it, there were no witnesses, it didn't matter that I stole the money because, nobody knew. But it doesn't work that way. How do you collect karma? You collect karma in your mind stream. Your mind, every moment of perception you have, you're collecting karma. The way karma is collected is that you perceive yourself doing something. You perceive yourself thinking a thought. You perceive yourself saying something. And that act of perceiving yourself is the collection of karma. The karmic seeds are planted in your mind stream via your perception of your body, speech, and mind, right? So you can never get away with anything. It's not about getting caught. It's not about being seen by other people. It's not about being blamed or not blamed by other people, right? It's about the simple fact that you have awareness and perception of yourself. And in that process, you are constantly collecting karma through the act of observing yourself, right? So, karma is merciless in that way. So, now in the Mahayana system, it's also possible to purify negative karma. It's possible to short circuit or remove the negative energies or the negative karmas that one collects in one's mind through doing something called four forces practice or purification practice, karmic purification practice. Because otherwise it's impossible to get enlightened. Think about a day. In an ordinary day we have thousands of thoughts which are, neutral to negative, right? Irritations or afflictions or whatever it may be, and very few firm, strong, virtuous thoughts. And that's pretty typical, right? How could we ever become enlightened if it were only the collection of 1,000 times more negative karmas than positive karmas? And so the purification of the negative karmas we've collected is very important so that they don't overwhelm our mind stream, right? So that's called the four powers, and if you undertake proper purification practice, you can remove the negative energy of those karmas. And the Diamond Cutter Sutra talks about it. So we'll stop there, and next week we will continue with the last half of the Lamrim. And I know it's a lot of information, but I do encourage you to get the reading. We didn't mention it, but all of the reading and quizzes and homeworks are online at acidharma.org. And I strongly encourage you to read the readings and do the homework. This is the longest homework ever, I think. But please do it. And bring it in and take the quiz next week. All right? All right.
Sajir Purhijishin Metotram Riravling Shin Yinderyam Padi Sangre Shindu Midevaragi Drohin Nanda Shinrajubasho Hidam Ratnamandalakam Ninyatayami Gawadi Gawakun Sunam Yeshe Soksokshim Sunam Yeshe Lejan Wei Dambadunito upon show.
So remember those people that you aspire to help in this effort tonight. Feel, dedicate that we may be able to spend all of our waking moments focused upon spiritual truths and higher spiritual things. We may be motivated throughout the day to pursue highest virtue, highest goals in life. May we be able to feel love and kindness in our hearts for every being we meet all through the day and express it to them. And may we live in the truth of emptiness and ultimate reality, behaving in a way where we're only virtuous, so that we may end all suffering everywhere quickly, attain enlightenment for ourselves and for the benefit of every other living being.
Thank you for teaching.
Pleasure.